The introduction to Reevaluating Evil, Who Really Was the Serpent in the Garden of Eden, begins by setting the context of the Garden of Eden narrative, a foundational story in Judeo-Christian mythology. The Garden of Eden is depicted as a paradisiacal setting created by God, where the first humans, Adam and Eve, lived in innocence and harmony with nature. At the heart of this narrative lies the iconic figure of the serpent, traditionally seen as a deceiver that leads to the fall of humanity. It's crucial to understand this setting to grasp the broader discussions about the nature of evil and the serpent's role within it. The significance of setting the context is profound because it establishes the initial conditions from which the themes of temptation, disobedience, and sin emerge. These themes are pivotal for understanding the nature of evil as posited by the narrative. In Western culture, the serpent's portrayal has influenced countless interpretations of morality, obedience, and the origins of human suffering. An example that illustrates the practical implications of this story is its use in theological discussions that address the nature of evil and free will. For instance, in theological debates, many suggest that the serpent represents the embodiment of temptation and is instrumental in the exercise of free will. Another real-world application is its influence on literature and art, where the narrative of the Garden of Eden symbolizes the loss of innocence and the complexity of moral choices. Think of works like John Milton's Paradise Lost or the iconic paintings of the Renaissance that depict this scene. Several opinions support the importance of this context setting. Scholars like Elaine Pagels argue that understanding the serpent as a part of the garden sets the stage for a more nuanced interpretation of evil, suggesting that this figure was possibly a catalyst for growth and knowledge rather than purely malevolent. However, challenges arise from traditionalist perspectives, which firmly view the serpent as Satan, embodying ultimate evil and a direct source of corruption. This point connects deeply with other aspects of the main topic by framing the essential questions about the identity and role of the serpent. It influences discussions on alternative interpretations, such as seeing the serpent as an archetype for knowledge or transformation. By laying out the fundamental environment of the story, audiences are better positioned to explore who the serpent really was, why it took the form it did, and what implications this has on our understanding of evil and morality in the broader scope of human culture and history. The concept of historical interpretations of the serpent refers to the various ways religious scholars, theologians, and cultural historians have understood and depicted the serpent figure in the biblical story of the Garden of Eden. Traditionally, the serpent is seen as a malevolent being, often associated with Satan, that tempted Eve into disobedience. However, historical interpretations offer a diverse tapestry of meanings and roles attributed to this enigmatic creature. This point is significant to the main topic of reevaluating evil because it challenges the simplistic labeling of the serpent as purely evil. By exploring historical interpretations, we begin to appreciate the complexities of moral judgment and the cultural context that shape such narratives. This examination allows for a more nuanced understanding of the serpent's role and, by extension, the nature of evil itself. One example of historical interpretation is found in early Jewish texts, where the serpent is not explicitly linked to Satan, but rather seen as a creature symbolizing chaos or knowledge. The Gnostic texts further reinterpret the serpent as a liberator, presenting it as a figure that offers knowledge and freedom from the material world's imprisonment. These interpretations illustrate the non-monolithic view of the serpent across different traditions and eras. Moreover, some modern interpretations suggest that the serpent represents the temptation of wisdom and knowledge, questioning whether evil truly lies in curiosity and the pursuit of enlightenment. This view aligns with real-world applications where the quest for knowledge often challenges established norms and is sometimes labeled negatively, despite its potential for growth and understanding. Historical interpretations of the serpent are supported by scholars who argue that symbols in religious texts should be understood within their historical and cultural contexts. They caution against the rigid application of modern values to ancient narratives, advocating for a more reflective approach that acknowledges the fluidity of symbols like the serpent. However, alternative viewpoints exist, with some insisting that the traditional interpretation of the serpent as a symbol of evil remains relevant and coherent within the broader themes of divine order and morality. Critics argue that reinterpreting the serpent could dilute the moral teachings intended by the original narrative. By examining these interpretations, we connect the serpent's symbolism to broader discussions on the nature of evil, the pursuit of knowledge, and the dynamics of temptation and freedom. This multifaceted exploration ultimately influences our understanding of the Garden of Eden story and its enduring legacy in discussions about morality and human nature. The concept of the symbolism of the serpent across cultures is an exploration of the diverse meanings attributed to the serpent in various cultural contexts and how these interpretations contribute to understanding its role in the Genesis narrative. Traditionally depicted in Western culture as a malevolent force, the serpent in the Garden of Eden has sparked curiosity about its symbolic nature beyond its biblical frame. The serpent appears in countless mythologies, often embodying dualistic qualities, representing both creation and destruction, wisdom and deceit. The significance of this point in the context of reevaluating evil is profound, as it challenges the singular narrative that depicts the serpent solely as a symbol of evil, thus inviting a broader examination of morality. By considering the serpent's varied symbolism across cultures, one can critically analyze its role in shaping the perception of good and evil in the Judeo-Christian tradition. In Hindu mythology, for instance, the serpent is often associated with Kundalini energy, symbolizing spiritual enlightenment and transformation. Here, the serpent is not a figure of malevolence, but a conduit to higher consciousness and divine wisdom. Similarly, in ancient Mesoamerican cultures, the serpent god Quetzalcoatl is seen as a creator deity, embodying both life and fertility. These examples highlight the serpent's complex symbolic roles and challenge the binary view of good versus evil as portrayed in the Garden of Eden. Scholars and theologians have debated the symbolic significance of the serpent in these and other cultural contexts. Some argue that the serpent's representation as a corrupting influence skews the broader understanding of its potential as a transformative figure. They support the idea of reevaluating the serpent's symbolism, suggesting it could offer a more nuanced view of moral ambiguity and the human condition. However, challenges to this reevaluation arise from traditional religious interpretations that deeply embed the serpent as an embodiment of Satan or inherent evil. Detractors might argue that such reinterpretations could undermine established theological narratives, leading to disputes over scriptural authority and intent. This discourse on the cultural symbolism of the serpent influences the broader theme of the reevaluation of evil by promoting a multidimensional analysis of biblical texts. It invites a rethinking of historical assumptions and paves the way for more inclusive perspectives on morality, demonstrating how cultural interpretations can enrich or complicate our understanding of ancient narratives. Through this lens, the serpent becomes more than a villain. It sparks a broader conversation on the origins of evil and the complexity of moral lessons in religious texts. Theological perspectives on evil and the serpent delve into various religious and philosophical understandings of evil, often embodied by the serpent in the Garden of Eden narrative. This exploration involves examining how different theological traditions interpret the serpent's role as a deceiver, tempter, or even a misunderstood figure, as well as what that says about the nature of evil itself. Understanding these perspectives is crucial for reevaluating the character of the serpent and its implications on human morality, free will, and the divine plan. In relation to the main topic, this point underscores the significance of perception and interpretation in religious texts. For instance, in Christian theology, the serpent is frequently seen as a symbol of Satan, representing ultimate evil and rebellion against God. In contrast, some Jewish interpretations see the serpent more as a tester or a catalyst, rather than inherently evil, prompting humans to exercise their free will and make moral choices. These differing views highlight the complexity of understanding evil and challenge us to rethink our assumptions about morality and temptation. Two specific examples illustrate these perspectives. First, the Gnostic tradition paints the serpent as a figure of enlightenment, guiding Eve towards knowledge that was unfairly withheld from humanity. Here, the serpent's role is not one of malice, but one of liberation, challenging us to question the binary of good versus evil. Secondly, the psychological interpretation considers the serpent as a projection of inner human struggles. Carl Jung, for instance, saw biblical figures like the serpent as archetypes representing deeper conflicts within the human psyche, illustrating how our inner battles manifest in our understanding of morality. Supporting these interpretations are scholars and theologians who argue that the serpent's depiction as inherently evil may reflect broader societal fears or biases rather than an absolute truth. However, this topic is not without controversy. Critics argue that alternative interpretations might oversimplify or misrepresent traditional teachings, potentially undermining foundational religious beliefs. This point of theological perspectives on the serpent connects to broader themes of the main topic by encouraging a reevaluation of established narratives and inviting more nuanced discussions about the nature of evil, the role of temptation, and the pursuit of knowledge. It fosters a deeper inquiry into how these elements influence human behavior and spirituality, urging us to recognize the diversity of thought within theistic interpretations and the profound impact they have on our worldviews.